Chop it down. Chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down.
I just appreciate everybody
watching. Watch him throw the ball. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Oh, that's a perfect timing. Who the hell is this? That's a perfectly timed email. Here we go. Let's go ahead and get everybody in this thing, man. Welcome to the stream. What's going on? JB, what's going on? B Finesse. Fellas, everybody else that's checking in, let's go ahead and get the guys in here too. Boom, there we go. Welcome back to another episode of the Trap or Die podcast provided to you by 214 Media. I am your host, Mual, man. You know what time it is. The fellas in here, AJ, Dre. It is the Aftermath show, man. Closing the book on the Jacksonville Jaguars. But let's check in with the gang. Dre, AJ, how y'all feeling tonight?
Feeling great, man. Like I said, I'm still riding high off this victory, even though it's time to start focusing on the Lions. But other than that, man, I can't complain, man. Just, happy that football is back, man. Everything's great.
Ain't nobody stressing you out at work, dog?
No, I'm actually training this week, so I'm good on the stress. I'm getting stressed out in other areas of life, like buying 4 new tires today. Like that shit pissed me off.
Oh god, man, is it because you said training? Is it managers training? Because I only ask because my bosses, they got managers training this week too. I didn't know if this was like a government uniform week.
It's an executive leadership program. So I'm in this program. I don't know. I mean, a lot of managers are in this because it's like a leadership thing. So people transition into the next levels of their career. So that's pretty much what it is.
Nice nigga on this SES shit. You know what I'm saying?
I ain't bullshitting.
I'm trying to be like you. Trying to be like you one day, dog. What's going on, AJ?
Cooler, man. Cooler.
How your day go, bro? Everything all right with you, dog?
Bro, it's been a wild day. Lost my wallet. Ended up retrieving it. Some lady found it like an hour and a half later.
Was your money still in it?
I'm about to say everything was
I don't never carry cash, man. Like I don't even be having $1 on me, so everything is always on the cards. But thank God nobody touched any of the cards. But I
can imagine how stressful that shit is though, AJ. Like that's everything that I had, bro. And I don't want to like we live, so you know what I'm saying. I'm a watch my words, but that shit.
Bro, like I don't even. What makes it worse is like I don't even lose stuff. Like the last time I think I forgot something behind, I was on a flight out the country and I forgot my passport and wallet at TSA. At Dulles Airport. So I'm all the way at like gate 38 or something like that. I'm all the way there about to board the plane and everything. I'm like, hold up. I don't have none of my identification. Man, I must have ran faster than Curtis Samuel down back to TSA to get that information back.
Did you make the flight though? You was good?
Yeah, I made the flight.
Oh boy,
I was moving. I could move, so
Hey, look, hey, trust me, I ain't gonna lie to you. I believe it. This is I remember this one time, and we can get back to the Commanders, but like my grandmother, my mom was telling me a story because I was too young. I don't even think I was born yet, if not like I was a baby. But my grandmother, like she was like in her 70s or 60s. No, I'm sorry, she was like in her 70s when I was born, or maybe like late 60s type. And my mother was telling me the story how they had to make a flight and shit. And I never, as I'm like old and cognizant of my grandmother, I never seen her do anything other than walk. My mom is telling me how she was over there sprinting to make the flight and shit. And I'm like, you telling me that she had to catch up to a flight and she was over here running to make the flight? And she look, when you gotta go.
When you got places to be, you do a lot of things. Like, man, I swear, if someone was timing me, they would have been like, boy, you just ran a 4.2. Like, yeah, I was Deion Sanders to make that flight.
Hey, nah, no bullshit. I'm a prospect, bro. I'm trying to make it to the league and shit. Hey, but I see y'all in the chat. JB, like I said, B Finesse 88, the great. I see you. B Finesse said our 3-headed receiver group is sick. We ain't even go 4-5 deep yet. Cole Turner coming back next week. 88 said we got Detroit. Let's see how this old turn continue and his D stop the run. I think the D is going to step up when Chase gets back. K Dot, appreciate you checking in. KMB, he said Fuller and WJ3 William Jackson III got to tighten the fuck up. And then obviously JB started off saying go Commanders, beat the Lions 2-0. When is the last time us fans can say that? Fellas, let's go ahead and get into it, man, and start this show. I think it's a lot of time that's passed. You know, we've all had an opportunity to really watch the game again and get away from our initial thoughts of the game. And if you had to like put a true feel to who the Commanders are coming out of that game, not necessarily about exactly what happened in that game. You can go there, it's whatever. But if you had to put a true feel, a true sense on who Washington is coming out of that game, what do you make of that team? And I'll get the floor, whichever one of you all that want to start first.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go ahead and start it up. But I think you probably feel like the offense is in a better place than it was week 1 last year. You know, me actually being at the game against the Chargers last year, boy, that offense was inept. You know, they also suffered an injury of their starter, Ryan Fitzpatrick. But, I mean, you know, I still think that the defense is kind of in the same place. You still have the same questions and the same issues. I guess it's just a bit different. The expectation was way higher last year in comparison to this year. It's pretty much still looking like, you know, whenever the last game was of the year, the same exact defense. Now with even more questions because the depth that you had at D tackle, for example, you no longer had with your second-round pick in Mathis being injured for the year and not having Settle or Ioannidis there, you have even more questions. And then in the 2 days since the game, you've had them pick up an undrafted free agent and another guy. I have no clue who that is. So they didn't even bring in a veteran to back up Allen, who suffered a groin injury but still going to play, and Allen. So I just feel like you definitely understand if you're a fan. Hopefully you not getting too ahead of yourself, but you have a better quarterback with a lot of intangibles that can work in this league and has shown to, you know, be able to produce some type of result. But at the same token, it's a roller coaster with this quarterback. So, you know, you never know what you're gonna get week in, week out.
Yeah, one of the things too, right quick, he mentioned the defensive line depth thing or the replacement for Darian Mathis. I don't remember. I think he was talking to. It was a exclusive interview. I think a one-on-one.
I heard it. I heard it with JP Finley. I was gonna bring it up, and it really threw me. It threw me off. He was just like, pretty much, we just need bodies. Not even like we need skills. We just need a body.
He said because it's not like we're replacing Jonathan Allen or Daron Payne. We're replacing Fedarian. So we really just need to get some guys out there. But in my head, I'm like, I understand it, but still, like, you picked up guys who have no NFL experience. Like that's who you picked up. So that's why I'm like, I don't know about this one, bro. I don't know about this one.
But the way he said it so confidently just really threw me off. It's like, wait, like you got your second round pick who's backing up your guys to be rotational, hurt, and your starter in Allen has a groin injury, so he's not 100% at any given moment.
Yeah, what's the word on that?
At any given moment, that could be re-aggravated. I mean, I don't really know the status on it, but at any moment, that could get re-aggravated, and now you're telling me that you're going to have to put in – I mean, I guess you're using Obata and Wise sometimes there, but to just say we're just going to bring in some bodies is ridiculous, bro. Like, these guys have no NFL experience. I don't even think some of these guys made it to, you know, the second round of cuts with their opposing teams. Like, I mean, with the teams that they were on. So it's insane to me.
Dre, where you at with this one, big dog? What's your takeaways, or what do you take away from Washington in their week 1 game?
I mean, well, in week 1, I don't know how much you can take away from week 1 as far as what a team is or what they aren't, but I feel confident in saying at least this team has shown some resilience. Because in previous years, I always feel like as a Washington fan, when shit happens, like when Wentz throwing 2 fourth quarter interceptions and giving up the lead, you're going down almost 2 scores with the 22-14. We mostly feel like we're going to pack the game up and lose, but they didn't. They came back and they won. I mean, it just goes to show that they didn't quit. They didn't give up. But I mean, it also is probably part of the Wentz experience. Like Wentz can probably give away a game just as fast as he can win you a game. And he showed all of that within this one game. I think they have a lot of things to clean up. Offensively, I like the game plan. I mean, I felt like they had a solid game plan, and going forward, I'm encouraged by the offense. I'm actually excited to watch them on a week-to-week basis now. Just, like I said, with Carson Wentz being the quarterback that he is, like I said, he can make some dumb decisions, but he can also make the game pretty exciting, and he has a lot of weapons this time around to, further enhance that. Defensively, I'm kind of with AJ as far as, I didn't feel too encouraged coming away from it. I do think that you identified some players this year. I think the safety play may be better this year than it was last year. Derek Forrest showed a lot of promise. I think I even seen a stat where he was the number 1 rated safety this weekend in the NFL, all of the NFL. Yes, from PFF, which is very encouraging. I mean, he was all over the field. You saw it. We saw it as fans. We were like, man, Derek Forrest, he's really taking the leap. At least that's what I took away from him. As far as the defensive line, I don't know what to make of it right now. Hopefully John Allen is good. I mean, I heard that it wasn't too serious and he should be back out there soon. You still have Daron Payne, and they even moved Daniel Wise on the inside, who I thought looked pretty good when he was playing on the inside. I don't know what to make of this Donovan Jeter character. I know he played at Michigan. I watched a little bit of him. He looks similar to Phil Mathis. That's the funny thing about it from the stuff I've seen from him at Michigan. So I guess they wanted to replace Phil with a guy that does something similar. I don't know, if he's going to be active on game days or not, or if they plan on moving Daniel Wise to the inside. Linebacker play is still left a little bit to be desired. I think the biggest issue for me coming away from the defensive part of the game, and it's funny because pass coverage is something we've kind of focused on, especially with the linebackers, even the cornerbacks, the secondary. But I came away a little bit feeling like, man, teams can run the football on us, really. Like, they can really run the football on us. And Jacksonville, luckily they didn't run the football a lot in this game because they looked good when they did run the football on us. And that may present an issue this week, especially with Detroit, man. I think Detroit, they have some solid running backs. You got Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. So that's something they're going to really have to tighten up. And this Jacksonville game kind of worried me on that aspect. And that may be, as far as something on the defensive line with AJ worrying about the veterans not being signed, there may be something right there that could be an issue, because I know Daniel Wise is pretty good in pass rushing, but we don't know how well, these guys are going to perform in the run game, which is going to be important going forward. So that's something that worries me a little bit coming out. But again, I was encouraged by some things on the defense. Like I said, Derek Forrest, he played his ass off. The defensive line as a whole, I thought that the pass, I thought they were getting good pressure all game, even if they weren't always getting home. I mean, they did get a couple of sacks, which is good, but I thought that they looked a lot better than they did last year, which is a promise. So hopefully, some of these other guys like Jamin Davis and Cole Holcomb start to play off of that, and they start to look good going forward.
So I see the comments, I see the chats, man. Let's go ahead and catch up with some of the new guys in here, or the people that just checked in. But Magic Man checking in. What's going on, big dog? Mike Underwood, appreciate you checking in. C Money, I see you, and we definitely we can go ahead and knock that out now. So we got a conversation on Sue and Dominican Sue. I don't, so to Mike's, I think it was Mike who said it. I don't know about the culture fit thing. I don't know if that is necessarily an accurate depiction of Sue. Like in his personal life, I don't know if anybody ever said that he was a terrible person. Like, if that makes sense. Like, obviously they got issues, or they may be some controversies stemming about his attitude as a player, but I don't think that would, if they wanted a veteran, I don't think that whatever they have, whatever history that Ndamukong Suh has, I don't think that's going to get in the way of Washington signing him. If the Bucks can bring him on and win the Super Bowl with him, Washington ain't. Come on now. I would just move on from that.
It's more so even for Sue, he's trying to compete for rings, or put himself in a good business position with ownerships. Like that's what led him to signing with Miami. With Tampa, it's an opportunity to win a Super Bowl. You're not gonna come off his couch to play for Washington. He's taking good care of his money too, so it's not like he needed.
I would say that's another valid point. It just really come down to what he wants, but also I don't think Washington is in a position to turn their nose up at Ndamukong. He's a good player, but also I don't know if he is the actual guy that plays what Phil plays. Phil was a 1-3 tech, or he was going to be a 1-3 tech, or maybe even a 2 tech here, depending on how they wanted to run with that one. I don't know exactly what Ndamukong could have played outside of just being a 3 tech guy. I may be wrong because I haven't really watched him intently to that degree. But I said,
Jamal, I was just about to say I want you to start reading off them comments because they about to get on AJ's ass, man.
Oh yeah, that was it. That's where we said it. I mean, I want to talk about.
I already see it, but it's
Turner,
I already see it, but it's
right? So,
am I the only person that had an issue with this dude?
So here's my thing. So listen, we're gonna start with Curtis and then we'll expand out. Go ahead, you got the floor.
But it's Scott Turner too. They're gonna get on you for Scott and Curtis, AJ.
Oh, I'm cool. We can talk about both, but let's not act like he was out there and he hit for 180 yards or something like he had a Justin Jefferson game. You just haven't seen that from this offense, so that's why people are so giddy. They're like, oh my god, oh my goodness. You haven't seen an offense be that innovative in a long time, so
Hey, no. So look though, we get it. The Curtis Samuel conversation for those who've been around with the Chopper Dive for a while. I think now I'm gonna say the statement, but just correct me where I go wrong, AJ. But from our time, since Curtis Samuel's been around, AJ is essentially labeled him as the gadget guy, right? In that essentially Washington put too much money into a Curtis Samuel, specifically Curtis Samuel, and things of that nature. Did I get the general thought of what Curtis Samuel is to you and how you feel about Washington paying Curtis Samuel?
That's essentially what happened. So what Curtis signed last year, and I just felt like they could have went a cheaper route for a gadget player because you've seen it.
So and then let's get into the conversation exactly because for when it comes to Curtis and when it comes to this offense in general, I guess I'll start off my thoughts so I can at least we can get a broader conversation. But I do want obviously all of us to talk about Curtis because he's a part of this, knowing that he's at least for now he's healthy and for me personally, I'm not going to sit here and I've already personally I've deaded the injury prone thing. I've deaded it in the sense of it's not a problem until it becomes a problem from now on. Whatever plan that they had for him, I'm just going to assume that it worked. He's on the field. He's been able to practice. He's been able to stack days together. It's a non-issue for me. But when it comes to the offense altogether and what you saw from Curtis Samuel on Sunday, what really was impressive for me, fellas, was the fact that you saw so first off, Jacksonville, for whatever God knows reason, played so much soft coverage that they I guess they played so soft that I thought that they were just more so scared of getting beat deep from the speed that Washington had, and they were just going to rally and make a tackle. And that's my overall guess of why they played so soft majority of the time. And they failed to make the tackle on several occasions. So I don't know why you played them so soft, and maybe they just were scared to get beat deep because they didn't have the speed. Point being, when you give Curtis Samuel those opportunities in space, when you give Terry McLaurin, even Antonio Gibson, and obviously Curtis Samuel, like I said, you get to see how dangerous this offense is from an explosive standpoint, but also from a yak standpoint. And if you get these guys the ball quickly at the line of scrimmage and give them opportunity to create in space, you kind of see what a Curtis Samuel does for your offense and giving you a 2-yard catch but turn it into a 9-yard gain. I think one of the bigger plays was that 2nd and 20. I talked about it, I think, Sunday as well. That 2nd and 20, right after the 10-yard loss from Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel gets a simple 2-yard gain or 2-yard pass his way, and he turns it up, makes the dude miss breaks his ankle essentially and turns it upfield for 9, and you get it in a better position on third down to really have a third and manageable following a offsides or whatever. Point being, and back to AJ and Dre, how explosive is this offense, man? I really appreciated what Curtis Samuel brought to these guys, and I think moving forward, when you see that type of thing, I don't think it stops at just being Jacksonville. I think what they can do in open field, it translates to whoever they play. You're going to put pressure on whichever defense that you play on a given week, given what they can do in open field. It's not that many people that can really come together when you have Terry McLaurin, who's really good after the catch, and then you have Curtis Samuel, who can make you miss. Terry McLaurin can make you miss or run through you, and then you got Antonio Gibson, who's just hard to bring down. Those are the top 3 guys. Jahan, we got to see what he does on this pro level in terms of being able to make plays after the catch. But ultimately, you got 3 guys. Curtis Samuel, you can see what he do now. How explosive is this offense for you all?
Yeah, I mentioned last week, I said you may see kind of a short passing attack offense, just because you have a bunch of guys on the field now that can make plays with the ball in their hands. And Curtis Samuel being one, like I loved how Scott Turner used him. Like Scott Turner just didn't put Curtis Samuel in the slot and lined him up there. Scott Turner had all kinds of motion going. He was using Curtis, out of the backfield, just the ways that I would have envisioned Curtis being used. I mean, it was just so encouraging to see that, because that makes the offense explosive. I mean, you have Terry on the outside now, and then you can't just focus on Terry. That's what we were talking about last week. Regardless of whether we think Terry's a legit number 1 wide receiver, whatever the case may be, Terry is a threat. And now Terry's going to have less attention on him, even though like I said before, he wasn't getting doubled as much as fans might have liked to say, but he still had attention. You had to know where Terry was. But now you have to focus on Curtis. You have to focus on Jahan. But Curtis' impact is so big because, like I said, he's a chain mover. He's a guy that with the ball in his hands, he may be one of the most shiftiest guys in the league. So, and he showed that on multiple occasions, like Jamal mentioned, that 2nd and 20 play, that juke move he made, he makes that a manageable third down. I mean, it's just situations like that. You're going to see that throughout the season with Curtis. As long as he's healthy, he's going to be a threat on the football field. And like I said, he's going to be taking carries out of the backfield. At some point, he's going to house one of these too. I mean, Curtis is an explosive player, and a lot of people forgot about that. Yes. And a lot of people forgot about how explosive he was because he was injured. We didn't see it. I mean, that last season in Carolina was his best season in his career. And some people even said that, well, he did that when he wasn't playing for Scott Turner and Ron Rivera. So now you get to see they're using him how he was used in his best season of his career, but now he's surrounded by more talent. Like I said, this what makes the offense so exciting, because you have multiple people that can beat you in multiple different ways on this offense now. And it's, to AJ's point where he was saying, everyone's excited and giddy, but it's true. We should be giddy right now because we haven't had an explosive offense like this in a while. And, opening day, they scored 28 points. And I felt like, with mistakes, they had mistakes when they could have scored more. I mean, even Curtis Samuel fumbled on a play when they were up 14-3 and they were driving going down the field, and they could have made it 17-3 or 21-3, but Curtis Samuel fumbled. But that's when the momentum kind of halted. But you just get a glimpse of how explosive this offense can be. Like I said, they probably could have put 35 to 40 points up, if they had, maybe been in more sync or just, not got out of rhythm the way they did. But you just love the potential of this offense. And I do think Curtis is at the forefront of that just because there's so many different ways you can use him. And then Antonio Gibson, you're kind of using him in a similar way in a sense too. He's just a bigger version of Curtis. And you just got to love it because you just always going to have those threats in the field. And it's encouraging to see that Scott Turner are utilizing these skilled players in the way he's using them.
One quick thing before AJ goes, we got a good number of people in here. Just want to give you all a reminder. If you are new to the Trap or Dive podcast, Trap or Dive YouTube or Twitch, man, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you give us a comment, man, so we can shout you out, hop into the stream. If you want to, you know what I'm saying, lurkers are allowed, and it's perfectly fine. But we appreciate you all joining us for a second, for however long you went here. And if you're here for the whole show, we appreciate you for being a part of the show. But make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button, all that good stuff, man. We are not that far away from 1,000 subscribers. Help us get there. And if you like the content, man, share it. Get that little share button, man. Put it somewhere. Send it to a friend, whatever. All that good stuff, man. So, appreciate y'all checking us out. Appreciate y'all joining. AJ, where you at with this conversation? What about the Washington's offense? Is it explosive? Is it real? Or is it fake?
Well, I guess, first off, let me touch on the Curtis Samuel thing. I definitely think that, like we said Sunday after the game, like they definitely scripted great plays to get him involved early and let him, be able to create in space. I mean, that's what you want all of your wide receivers to be able to do is get that rack. As long as you can dial up these plays to put them in space to get creative and produce down the field, everything doesn't have to be, a bomb. You can throw a quick slant or a screen and have a guy create maybe 15, 20 plus yards off of that if you just give them the opportunity. So I'll give Scott, credit for that. But I feel like Jacksonville also wasn't prepared for Curtis Samuel to be that active in this game and be that heavily involved in the game plan. But you seen second half came around, a lot of that got shut down. At the end of the day, I think the offense has potential to be explosive as long as Scott, continues to dial up plays and get creative and creating mismatches with Antonio Gibson flanking out at wide receiver and being in the slot, or being in the backfield with J.D. McKissic as well, or either Antonio Gibson and Curtis Samuel being in the backfield or motioning. All those different things create the defense to have to second guess what's really going on. And also Carson can run. He can easily, take the ball and run for 10 yards down the field. So those are all things that you have to hit on. So they definitely have more potential to be explosive with this offense than, the previous years that we've had to watch this team offensively.
So let's go ahead and check in with some of the comments right quick. Hawk is hilarious, bro. He said Warren Sapp anyone. So let's go ahead and go through some more. Magic Man, it's like you can't win. Blessed to everybody. What's going on, Deontay? Appreciate you checking in. Mike said Samuel's show was for other teams to see that you can't just double team Terry anymore, and to show he's healthy and Debo bound. I have seen Debo like several times since this game has ended. But the funny thing, I actually think that the person that we're overlooking for this quote unquote Debo role could actually just be Antonio Gibson. And now Debo runs more routes clearly, and he runs deeper routes, more vertical routes, but that one out of the backfield, the corner route out of the backfield, kind of symbolizes what he can do for you, even if he's at the line of scrimmage. Like, you got a lot of options with Antonio Gibson. So when we talk about this quote unquote Debo role, which I don't like we got to see how things unfold. Obviously, Curtis Samuel is a little bit smaller in terms of his frame, and clearly he can be like a Debo role they want to. I don't know, but just in terms of what Antonio brings to an offense, I just think that we probably may even have more than one person who's capable of filling the role. It's just bad fact. But Debo is elite at what he does. We just got to see how things play out in Washington. But yeah, we'll see. Let's go ahead and catch up.
I think people should compare Curtis' role more so to Percy Harvin than Debo.
That's what I had too, AJ.
You can't
talk about it.
Yeah. I think too many times people get caught up in the moment, but before there was a Debo Samuel, there was a Percy Harvin. Percy was doing this in high school, college, and in the pros for the Vikings, Seattle, Buffalo, and Miami, I want to say as well. So that's who you have to compare it to more so.
In today's game, you could probably compare more to Cordell Patterson than you would a Debo Samuel.
Yeah, and every team is running their own variation of it. That's why I was so mad at Scott for not implementing this sooner in his tenureship with Washington. I mean, you've seen the Giants utilizing for a short amount of plays Kadarius Toney the same way Washington was using Curtis.
You didn't have that personnel though. Who did you have to play that role before Curtis?
You could have used Gibson. You could have used McKissic. And you could have used DeAndre Carter. I mean, we've seen DeAndre Carter catch a touchdown from Justin Herbert over the weekend too, and they let him go for $1 million. And now we got Dax. Milline returning Dax kicks and whatever his name is.
He's not bad, AJ. He ain't bad.
Man, he ain't no DeAndre Carter. He ain't never housing shit. I tell you that. You're not even.
He got 16 games left.
Man, if he house a touchdown, bro, I I don't know. I'll make a donation.
Hey, you on live, bro? I'm about to say, come on now.
I'll make a donation
this
of
a
good amount to somebody's charity.
That
is not happening.
All right, let's catch up with some more of the comments. Where are we at? Jamil is checking in. He said, appreciate the work that we put in. Appreciate you, big dog, for checking in with the fellas with the triple game. Magic said Cole Turner will be a threat in the red zone. I did see somebody say earlier that Cole Turner was coming back this week. I hope that's the case. Obviously, we'll know more when the injury report comes out, maybe even the Thursday one and not the Wednesday one. But if Cole Turner comes back, we have something to talk about on Thursday because that is my guy.
On Cole Turner, I was just going to say on Cole Turner real quick. I think he could have played this week health-wise, but from what I understand, they said they didn't want to put him out there till he got more practice reps because of how much time he missed.
I remember that now.
Yeah.
What you about to say, AJ?
I was going to touch on it, but I also seen a comment at the same time. Yo, they got to get Amari Rodgers in this offense a little bit more at tight end. Logan is way too slow, bro. Logan's pushing through, but like,
look like
Amani
still feeling it.
Yeah, he's still feeling it. He pushing through, but Amani, like, if they give him an open space and let him create, like, he could play. He got potential there.
Hell yeah, that 20 something yarder that Logan caught, like the drive we scored, the game winner. The dude was on, bro. He was running full speed and ran 14 miles an hour, bro. Like he wasn't moving. I like that's the information that I got, and I think
a young Logan Thomas, same thing. Quarterback. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm saying Logan was running 14. Armani hit I'm talking about the game winning drive, like that joint. He was wide open on the corner, right? Turned to the field, like he was running his full speed, his damnedest, and couldn't get the next year. But Armani, to that point, I think that Armani is he's much more fluid. And I love the way that play design worked. A lot of things when you talk about misdirection and how Scott Turner, I'm not gonna lie to you all. Side note. From a schematic standpoint and play calling standpoint, I give Scott Turner this game a B+. I didn't like how the only thing that I really didn't like with these guys is more so about the offensive line. The interior offensitive line is a little nerve-wracking. Chase Roulier, his first full game back, he had some issues against like the nose text / like shade text, like right up in his chest. Was giving up some interior pressure. And obviously some of the guards were giving up some pressure too. And then in the run game, bro, they wasn't that they need to work a little bit more together. Like you saw kind of the issues from a first game standpoint of everybody really trying to mesh well, and it was a little bit problematic. But they sprung Antonio Gibson a couple times. That's that. But I know I got on the side note back to Armani Rodgers. I'm with you.
But that was perfect, Mual, because there's another thing. They were rotating right guards. Who the hell does that in the NFL?
Well, Schweitzer was hurt.
I know Schweitzer was hurt, but I don't know what was going on with Turner. Guards. Yeah, I don't know what was going on with Turner. They did because they had Turner and Sadiq. Sadiq Charles was the guy who was rotating. Sadiq Charles was up there at left guard, right guard. Norrell's out a few plays, and then you got Trey Turner out a few plays, and I don't know. That shit was weird to me, but I don't know if they were hurt. Like I really didn't understand that
part.
Could have
been a conditioning
because they kept coming back in the game. That may be.
Yeah, because a lot of these dudes been hurt a lot this offseason. I mean, we've been dealing with a lot of injuries on the O-line, and that's been one of the things a lot of people have been talking about as far as they were worried about the cohesion going into this game with the offensive line because most of these guys were hurt during the offseason and they didn't get a chance to play together a lot. So you could have had the week one jitters, the cramps, and all of that. The conditioning could have been an issue in this game for the offensive line.
Yeah, I think we should just monitor that, like put a bookmark in that because that interior offensive line was a little sketchy. But shout out to Charles Leno and Sam Cosmi, but specifically Charles Leno because Charles Leno did his motherfucking thing against Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker, bro. It was incredible to see.
He's starting to be an underrated tackle, isn't he?
Yeah, I love his technique, bro, and the way he approached the game plan against some powerful edge rushers, bro, like being aggressive, matching their aggression, bro. Like his technique was really good, man. I love the way that he was using his hands in his pass sets, being able to stay active, man. And he was probably one of the few really who was able to do it consistently throughout the game, and really hold his own on the left side, bro. And that was really good to see. I don't know like where his rating would be, like if we had to do a top 20, because I know he ain't top 10, but
he not top 10.
Is he close?
Yeah,
I know. I was about to say, is he close? Like that's where I'm at. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Okay, let's go ahead and get through these. He said Cole Turner. All right, we talked about that one. How I mentioned, he said, bro, I'm not gonna lie, I hate Scott Turner, but he was in his bag those first 2 drafts. Hey, look, man, you're not alone. There's a lot of people that don't like Scott Turner, but talk to us though, hi, because I know you over on the Twitch side. What's going on with you and Scott Turner? Why don't you kind of understand, or why do you hate him? I guess because that's a strong word right there. Let's go ahead and get through some more.
People hate him. I think a lot of people hate him.
Let's hear it.
Because of the whole Dwayne Haskins thing from the first year. Right. I think a lot of people still holding on to a lot of hostility from that. They kind of blamed Scott Turner and Ron Rivera for not, progressing Dwayne Haskins or making Dwayne Haskins out to be the player people wanted him to be. And I do think a lot of people harbor some hostility towards Turner and Rivera for that.
Hey man, I don't know what's going on with the Scott. I think the fan base is so scared to lose an offensive, not even guru. They just scared to lose an offensive like coordinator or anyone on that staff.
I get it, like past trauma type shit.
So it's like they got PTSD. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, he hasn't shown any reason of like possibly being a head coach or being great. He does nothing great. Like, he called a good first half. Second half was rocky.
Was that on him though? There was a lot of execution issues in the second half. That was a lot of execution.
Now I will say one thing before y'all go. I will give credit in this instance. I would just give Ice J. Appreciate the follow over on Twitch, man. Appreciate you, big dog, for checking in. I'll just say on Jacksonville's side, bro, they made a couple plays coming out the half. Like that. It was and I'll be quick. I pulled my notes. I was doing my notes at work. Hopefully nobody who's at my job actually listens to the live stream, but I was where is it? They had a well-timed blitz to start off the opening drive. I think they tried to do that screen to Curtis Samuel, and it really went nowhere, or maybe to Antonio Gibson or something like that. The swing pass. They had a fire zone to come out and actually threw off everything, and then right after that, from the fire zone, you get Trayvon Walker, your number 1 pick, making a play against Sam Cosmi. Sam Cosmi kills the drive. Like that. That's just another team making the play, though. That's kind of where I'm getting at. That's all I'm saying. That was the first drive coming out of the second half. The other drive, we can go into detail. That'll take longer. But I'm just saying, like, there was some plays that Jacksonville made. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some plays that they made. I just feel like I told y'all privately in the chat, like, yo, he's putting his game in Carson Wentz's hand a little bit too much. Like, run the ball, create some more balance, like, run some time off the clock. Because with these incompletions and stopping the clock and giving them more time to be able to score and getting them back on the field offensively, that was my thing. I mean, like I said, I think he had a great script, coming out the gate, and he definitely did a great job of getting Curtis involved and also getting Wentz comfortable within the offense to open up, the season. But second half, I just feel like things weren't really clicking. Wasn't really adjusting, and I also have a big issue that going into the fourth quarter, Terry McLaurin only had 1 target and 1 catch. I have a big issue with that. I understand that there's other pieces of the team, and yeah, he could be a decoy in some aspect, but you also got to put the ball in your playmakers' hands and give him an opportunity. Fortunately, down the line, they did hit that deep ball to him, but I want to see more targets for him, more opportunities as well.
Well, I'll end my Scott Turner thoughts on this. I'll just say, kind of what I've been saying all offseason, and that we will finally, I guess, know who Scott Turner is by the end of the season. We can't really come away from this game saying, oh, look, Scott Turner's a great offensive coordinator or whatever the case may be. But I do think he was unfairly judged his first 2 seasons. It was a lot of shit to work with that he didn't, he didn't have a full arsenal of what he has now. And I do think that with Carson Wentz, Curtis Samuel, the addition of Jahan Dotson, these guys, now you're going to finally be able to see, can he cut it at this level? And also, I mean, the hallmark of a great OC is if your name is being discussed in head coaching opportunities. And if he, if they have more games like this where the offense is putting up numbers, Carson may eliminate some of the mistakes that he makes, and he does a lot of the good that he did on Sunday. Scott Turner is going to be attached to that. And if Carson has what you would call a comeback season, Scott Turner is going to be labeled a quarterback fixer. So, I mean, that's one of the things to watch out for this season. But if things go south, then you could probably blame Scott Turner, or you could say Scott Turner isn't, it at this level.
Bye.
So, like I said, we'll find out. We'll find out more by the end of the season. I know AJ will love to see him go. Like AJ hates him.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm all for people getting opportunities. I'd love to see him get promoted elsewhere. I'd love to see Ron Rivera get promoted as well. But that's an interesting point, Dre, because like these NFL owners already have a hard time of identifying who should be a head coach. If he does make this look even, above average with Carson Wentz, he's definitely probably going to get interviewed for a head coaching job.
But AJ, you wouldn't like him if he does that? That's my question. Like, if he makes Carson look above average or makes Carson look better than he has in the last 4 or 5 years, you don't think that you would love that in Scott Turner, or say, man, this guy really is a good offensive.
At least keep him another 2 more years, bro.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm saying if Dre's scenario plays out, that's what I'm saying.
But if it plays out, that means you have to extend Carson Wentz at a higher salary. Which would probably be closer to 40 million a year, and I'm not rocking with that. Like, there's a lot of pieces to it because they are tied together. So if Carson does ball out, it's going to be accredited to Scott Turner, right?
Yeah, and
that means Scott Turner stays unless he gets a higher opportunity. He's already got an extension last year for mediocrity. Then Carson Wentz also will be able to ask for a new contract, which you might be forced to have to give him.
But so that's where I was gonna say the 2 things and one thing. Snowman Killer, appreciate you checking in on Twitch. Appreciate the follow, big dog. Welcome in to the Trap or Dive podcast. I see y'all on the YouTube side as well. I'm gonna get back to some of the comments. To what you're saying though, AJ, I think the whole thing is about this is if you like in all of these scenarios playing out, AJ, the bottom line is the reason why they're in these opportunities is because they actually played well in Washington. Like this year, you had to do good in order for these scenarios to happen. So like you're talking about, and we're talking about Carson Wentz playing well under Scott Turner, and people are viewing Scott Turner as the person who revived Carson Wentz's career after the turmoil that he went through, and they're finding the perfect marriage together. Well, ultimately, that will work in Washington. Or ideally, you would want to see that work out in Washington even further because it's working. Like, why would you pull the plug on something that is actually working?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll visit that when it comes. I think it's too early in the season. I'm already getting murdered in the comments. Let's just keep this shit rocking.
AJ don't even like the thought of this shit. He said, "Nah, let's do
it." I just nah, bro. I'm not even trying.
AJ said too much success, man. I don't want to hear about that success shit, man.
Because it's like I like to think down the line as well. So it's like I'm already thinking like, yo, this shit does work with Carson Wentz. Like they're gonna have to pay him close to like at least 38 to 40 million. And Scott Turner is possibly going to get a head coaching job, or he's going to continue to be the offensive coordinator. That's what I'm thinking. I just don't know. But yeah, let's move on to the next topic, man.
you good? I think there was one thing that I was going to say too, as well, that actually is something where we're like, all right, hold on for a second, right? Jacksonville's defense, like, yes, Scott Turner had a lot of success against Jacksonville this past Sunday. But when I tell you Jacksonville didn't know what the fuck they were doing out there, like they looked so confused. They had so many coverage breakdowns. Part of it was schematic. And Scott Turner definitely dialed up some shit that confused these guys from a personnel standpoint and then a concept standpoint, right? From a route concept standpoint and combinations. But these guys, bruh, If you face a more in-tune secondary, bruh, and then on top of that, when you face a secondary that has several games on Scott Turner, we can circle back to this conversation, Dre, because we don't even have to wait to the end of the season to figure this out. Because you said at the end of the year, which is very fair, very a fair evaluation because you get a whole season on him, especially knock on wood, Carson Wentz stays healthy. That's his quarterback. That's who he needs. But even still, mid-season, maybe even a month into it, you'll know a little bit more about Scott Turner because you'll have some, like, coordinators have film against him now. So the shit that he was hiding in the preseason and in training camp and people trying to figure out what he's doing offensively, we'll know a lot more in a couple of weeks. Not even at the end of the season. We'll know a lot more in a couple of weeks. So to what AJ is saying, and even for me, understanding that I loved what I saw against Jacksonville. Jacksonville was not the best secondary. That front seven altogether too, like they were got on the misdirection as well. They had so much opportunity, Washington did. And then when you look at the film as well, look back on the film, they had several missed opportunities. Like that pass that AJ mentioned where they went off sides and he chucked it deep to Curtis Samuel. Antonio Gibson was running down the sideline with nobody around him. He could have dumped it off and Antonio Gibson would have got 30 at least. And that drive ultimately I think led to that was an interception drive, if not the touchdown. I don't remember either way. But opportunity is what I'm getting at. So
the interesting part of their schedule is I don't really know if they're going to play a good defense.
San Francisco is usually funded. They're usually fundamentally sound.
San Francisco is Christmas.
I'm about to look.
So
let's see, Philly maybe.
What about Minnesota?
Philly.
We play Minnesota, right?
I mean, Colts.
Yeah, we got Minnesota.
Colts possibly, depending on how they bounce back from the week one. But I don't really see like a tough defense per
Tennessee,
se.
I know Tennessee's defense is pretty tough. Like they're the guys from a pressure standpoint. That shit is crazy. Like them boys get after it.
They make games ugly.
Yeah, so Tennessee will be a good matchup. Dallas, fuck them. I'm sorry. Philly, that should be a good matchup. Yeah, I think it's really just Philly.
This is going to be a topic coming up too. No one expected Dallas to kind of just fall off as hard as they did week one. A lot of shit happened with Dallas that kind of opens up things for Washington now, because remember people was talking about Philly and Dallas in this NFC East division. Now Dallas loses Dak Prescott. Even when Dak played, they looked horrible against Tampa Bay. I mean, everywhere but Micah Parsons on the field looked horrible for Dallas. So now you have this 4-game stretch where we kind of talked about before the season, our season preview, where we were saying, you want to see maybe 2-2, 3-1 in this 4-game stretch. Now you kind of hoping you go 3-1 in this stretch, because we got a Detroit game, even though we're underdogs in this game. I do feel like it's a good winnable game. The Eagles game, then that's going to be a huge game. But then Dallas right after that, with their situation, Washington has a good opportunity, man, early on.
Yeah, I never seen Dallas as a team to fear. They lost a lot of pieces on their offensive line with injury. Also, Collins going to Cincinnati. And then, more importantly, you can stack the box because nobody fears CeeDee Lamb. And there's no other wide receivers on the other end. You got
I agree.
Dennis Houston. You got Noah Brown. And CeeDee Lamb is a number 2. And he has no speed. He lacks separation. So it's like you can stack the box and force them to have to beat you with Ezekiel Elliott and Pollard, and they got a beat up offensive line, even with Dak back there. Now you're about to be playing. The crazy part about Cowboys is there are 2 quarterbacks that they're now about to count on until Dak returns. They cut both of them, and they didn't even make the 53-man roster. Like. That just tells you everything you need to know right there.
I say they did so much wrong, bruh. Like, and they're paying for it. Like before the season, like I'm pretty sure they're hoping that they can get Jason Peters. I mean, I don't know if they're going to really realistically do it, but I'm pretty sure they're praying that Jason Peters can get ready and acclimated as quickly as possible. Like that's the one thing that can probably no. I'll take that back because Dak Prescott being gone.
It's not going to do anything because even when Dak returned,
and I know Peter's sick because he signed that contract.
Yeah, even when Dak returned, he's still going to have his hand being a liability because it's always going to be going forward and it's always going to be somebody hand or helmet there. Like I don't realistically see him playing for the rest of the year. He might try to force it, but he's gonna get re-injured. We're gonna see exactly like the same shit that Russell Wilson went through last year, honestly, because it's pretty much almost the same injury.
And I was gonna say with Dak, I don't think it was ever designed for Dak to be the best player on the Cowboys offense. And right now he probably is.
Too late now.
You know, I mean, yeah. he's and before, you know, all those years when he was, you know, leading the Dallas offense and looking good, Dallas has superior talent. I mean, you had a Ezekiel Elliott in his prime. I mean, Tony Pollard out the backfield. You had Amari Cooper, who's a hell of a receiver, CeeDee Lamb, you know, Michael Gallup, all of this talent around him. And now you just have CeeDee Lamb, a washed up Ezekiel Elliott, and just a receiving back of Tony Pollard. So now Dak has to do more than he's done in the past. And so even with a healthy Dak, I just don't think Dallas is as good as people thought they were.
Yeah, I mean, I think we get to see week 3, they play the Eagles, right?
Yeah, we got week
Dallas
3,
week
Philly,
4, right after week
4. So next week will be the measuring stick of this team. With Washington and us being able to see how they fare and if they might have a chance of winning the NFC East, because Eagles definitely got some playmakers out there with Devontae Smith, and AJ Brown is a dog. So
hey, yeah,
you know,
I swear, hey, that's gonna be that's why I was like that's gonna be problematic, bro. That matchup right there. Because especially we saw, look, one of the things that we saw, and I hate that we're looking ahead to Philly because we do got Detroit.
Man, don't nobody want to talk about no damn
It's hard not to.
But listen,
you can't sleep on it. You can't
talk
about that run game, bro.
Lions, like, get the hell out of here, man.
Like if we can't, if that interior, we giving up so much. We got gashed against Jacksonville, and for the life of me, I still don't understand why they didn't run it more. Like they could have put up 200 on us if they wanted to, and they chose not to. Philly will put up 200. They don't have to use AJ. They don't have to use AJ. They don't have to use that, man.
Detroit gonna try to do it this week with Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. So
they definitely
gonna be running that ball crazy. They put up numbers against Philly. So
I'm stacking the box against Detroit and making Goff beat me. I'm stacking the box on them. Jared Goff, you just gonna have to beat me this week.
I agree with you. I'm like, hey, Goff, let me see you put on your best performance of your life, because I'm not scared. I mean, Chark got some speed, but I'm not scared of your wide receivers. I'm scared of Hockenson because of the linebacking corps that Washington has. But aside from that, man, I'm putting 8 in the box. Like,
hey, bro,
let's see what happens.
We know Swift. That boy Swift gonna kill our linebackers too. Like Swift gonna kill him.
You're a receiving threat.
I'm trying. Yeah, you got Amon-Ra. Like he plays in the slot. He plays all over, I believe. Like he gonna find a way they gonna find a way to work that mismatch. I think to y'all's point, because we talked about it post game to a degree, but not like in detail. But Rivera cleaned this up Monday, I believe. He was saying he was appreciative of how Jack kinda adjusted, I guess, in a sense during the game, but ultimately he didn't like how he didn't adjust to the linebackers getting matched up with Christian Kirk throughout the game. So Detroit, from a professional standpoint, they gonna figure that shit out. They gonna figure out what happened and how can we continue this mismatch. And we ain't no experts to that degree to figure out like how exactly they'll try to do it. But Ron Rivera noted it, and he publicly noted that these guys need to figure out some shit because we don't want Jamin Davis out there checking up against a goddamn receiving running back or guys who specialize in receiver at running back. And then obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's clearly a rising star in terms of a receiver. He's not there yet, but he's rising from a skill set standpoint. So yeah, Jamin Davis is a good coverage linebacker, but it's certain profiles that you do not want him going up against. That's it.
Wow. No, I didn't know Ron mentioned that. That's huge.
He did.
I mentioned it. I think I mentioned it Sunday to you guys.
Yeah,
I'm like, yo, Jamin is
and then Armani, shout out to him. Armani brought it up as well.
Yeah, I'm like, Jamin Davis is covering running backs and Christian Kirk way too much. Like, there's no way that you schemed this up, and it seems like they did.
Like he was exclusively on Kirk. Like he was.
Like,
every time I was,
it was weird. I almost thought that he played the Buffalo nickel, honestly, because I was getting a bit confused. Like, there's no way that you can keep playing your linebacker who's still trying to learn the game and the position and going against slot wide receivers, because you don't even have to be a great slot wide receiver. That's the benefit of playing in the slot. You got so much field to use.
Yeah, you need to put Jamie Davis on niggas like Logan Thomas.
I was gonna say, Jamal, that was a great point you brought it up, because I actually watched that presser that Ron did, and I was like, he spoke glowingly of Scott Turner. And then when it came to Jack Del Rio, he kind of noted, man, we were getting gashed here, and we corrected some things, but it wasn't like a glowing endorsement of Jack. It was in a sense like, man, this shit better get cleaned up. And I'm glad he did note it, because hopefully they do adjust for like Detroit, because that was unacceptable in my opinion.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and catch up with some of the comments and then get up out of here with some closing thoughts. I make sure we get everybody in here. Mike said, what's going to happen now that Dak is out the year? That hurt Zeke. Oh, yeah, we talked about that one. Ice J on Twitch checked in, said run game can be crazy good. Scary Terry is nice. That's for sure. Terry is a dog. Where we at? He's not going to ask for a new contract. I know he was talking about Carson Wentz. You never know, bro, because if he kill it this year, like everybody wants him to, that's going to warrant a new contract. He ain't going to take no $28 million going into year 2 and year 3. Tyler, where we at? That's Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. said it don't happen. It don't matter what happens. I'm winning it all. Shout out to you for checking in, Tom Brady. Share us on your profile so we can get some more subscribers. Hawk mentioned 30. Oh, all right, bet. Yeah, appreciate you checking in and showing some love. As a reminder, if you are new to the Trap It Up, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button, all that good stuff, man. We appreciate you checking in. I appreciate you checking in, Hawk. Montel, Jeff Goat, rooting for Scott, but I got to see it consistently. Agree with AJ. We should have ran a lot more. This is a former running back talking, so he's going to agree with you.
We gotta get Montel back on the show, man. Montel, man, good dude.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to get him back on. Matter of fact, Montel, if you're around, we can do either Thursday or Tuesday. You talk to me. You let me know. But yeah, he said especially up 14-3 and lost aggressiveness until we were down 8. Hawk mentioned the YouTube etiquette. Appreciate that. Go through some more. Trapper Dive, my wife and I are applauding y'all professionalism. Hawk always giving these compliments, man. We appreciate you, dog.
I love Hawk, man.
Such a great sports show, man. And I really is, so I can't knock it, bro. I definitely appreciate that from Hawk, man. And Tyler's always in here as well. He said Dallas is poorly coached. CD is a scary motherfucker. Yeah, he's scared. Gator. Oh yeah, that's what he's saying. Gator arms. But so yeah, he definitely scared. Harsh said, appreciate you checking in, Harsh. By the way, Dak looked like 2020 Wentz. That's an interesting notation. And then that's when Dak was on a rookie contract. Lions put up 35 on Philly. Rivera, shit cannon, Jack. And then lastly at Jay, they scored 28 in a loss. We need to be more prepared against the Lions defense. Okay. So last thing, where was my notes? Let me get back to my notes. Boom. All right, so we really did touch on a lot with Scott Turner and Carson Wentz and even the offense altogether. And then just briefly touched on Jack Del Rio as well. I guess we can close out with any final thoughts too. I'll give the floor to you all. I guess what are some early thoughts as we get ready for Detroit? I guess this would probably be the better question. As we get ready for Detroit, what are some things on your mind that we really have to pay attention to? We kind of hinted on it, and if you want to elaborate on the run game thing or matchups altogether, if you want to elaborate on that, you definitely can in this aspect. But what's some early thoughts as we head and gear up for Detroit?
Yeah, I mean, I think gearing up for Detroit, man, you got to emphasize stopping the run. Like Dre mentioned, I'm definitely not threatened by Goff or Detroit's wide receivers on the outside or the slot. I could care less. At the end of the day, a lot of things start and end with that offense with the run game. They don't want to put the ball in Jared Goff's hands to try to win games. They rather their 1-2 punch in Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift, making some plays on the ground and, being able to play off of the play action and get Hawkinson involved and some of those other guys in the passing game involved. But I definitely would put 8 in the box. On top of that, I'm playing without a real backup rotational D tackle, if you want to say so. I guess you could play Obata and Wise there. But Detroit also has a physical team overall. So I think that's something that you have to be able to match up going into this game. You have to be able to, play with that same intensity that they'll be coming with. They're upset about the loss. They almost beat Philly. Let's keep it a buck. Like we're looking at Philly being the number one dog in the NFC East, and they lost that game by 3 points. So that's huge. This is not some slouch. This is not the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a more seasoned group of players from a veteran standpoint on both sides of the ball. And, they're definitely going to be preaching about playing with that physicality. I think Washington just has to do a good job of creating that balance and, try to replicate that script once again with Curtis Samuel, Antonio Gibson. I would like to see J.D. McKissick be involved more in the passing game. I would also like for Washington to run the ball a bit more too, create some type of balance, or at least don't have the defense just keying on the pass, because at some point in that game, the Jacksonville Jaguars were just keying in on pass. They weren't even concerned about the running game. And it's like, if you're going to put Antonio Gibson out there at running back, you got to have trust in him to run the ball. I mean, if he fumbles, he fumbles. I mean, we've seen it before. Curtis Samuel fumbled in this game, and a lot of the fans didn't really make a big deal of it. Of course, it'll be different when Antonio Gibson does, but at the same token, you got to let him run the ball and get those opportunities, just so that the defense feels that there is a threat of the run game aside from gadget plays with Curtis Samuel. But yeah, I mean, I look forward to this matchup and seeing if they match that intensity. I want to see Carson Wentz clean up things a little bit more, stop throwing these high misses. There were several times that guys were open, that he missed the ball. I mean, he missed these targets by throwing it high. There were also some plays that were left on the field that he could have made with a bit more patience in the pocket and trusting that he could step up, and he still had time. Mual broke down some of those plays, so you could check out his Twitter, and you could see, Dotson was open on some plays. Other guys were open as well. But I just want to see Carson be a bit more patient and, not turn over the ball either. Because that Tyson Campbell interception was so bad. That was elementary football right there. He literally looked down a corner the whole entire time and still threw the ball.
Yeah, and it was inside too. That was another thing. I tried to figure out if he threw it late, but I don't even think he threw it late. It was more so the placement than anything, and that joint was inside, way too inside. Like, it was for us, it was right here when it should have been out there where the sideline would be. I try to make sure I put my hands in the camera so people can see it. But yeah, Jay, where you at with your early thoughts with Detroit?
Yeah, early thoughts. Like I said, I haven't looked too much into them. I got to check out a little bit of the highlights against Philadelphia, but again, like I told you all earlier, and like AJ said, I would definitely stack the box against Detroit because I think they're gonna, they can run, and that's one of my concerns of Washington right now is that I'm concerned about the run defense. And we haven't been tested too much. And even in the last couple of years, I don't think the rush defense has been that great, but you're not being tested that much in this league because not many teams employ a run first offense or a high power rushing attack, even though we do have one of those teams in our division in the Eagles, but that's mainly because of the quarterback as well. But this is a team who's going to utilize their running backs in DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, and they're going to try to attack Washington's weakness, in that run game. So I would stack the box on them, play a lot of 5-man fronts against them, just to try to, like I said, make Jared Goff beat you. That's one of the things. If Jared Goff beats you, so be it, but I would take my chances on stopping Detroit's key playmakers. And I think DeAndre Swift is the best player on their offense. That's the guy I'm looking at. Offensively, I just want to, and I do expect them to be able to attack a little bit more in this game. And probably for reasons we already noted. And as AJ mentioned, Jamal's film reviews, you see Jahan Dotson running down the field a couple of times. He's missed. Maybe he wasn't the primary target on those plays, but he's open. Even Terry a couple of plays. So I think those are things they may try to exploit more, because that is Carson's wheelhouse. Carson's wheelhouse is to attack deep normally. So we actually kind of got to see him do something a little bit different and, attacking the short passing game. And that's because I mentioned we have a lot of playmakers. But I do think you're going to see things open up a little bit more this week. And I'm looking to that to happen this week against Detroit, and that you're going to look for the downfield passing game a lot more in this game. It worked late in the game against Jacksonville. And I think part of that was because Jacksonville adjusted and they wanted to play the short stuff a little bit more. So that's when they were able to open up the game a little bit more with the deep passing in the fourth quarter. So I think you may be able to see that maybe early in the game against Detroit. That's something I'm looking for them to do, is to attack Detroit early and aggressively. But overall, like I said, I want to get a little bit more of a look at Detroit this week. I know we're doing a show on Thursday, right? Yes. Okay. So we're doing a show Thursday. So yeah, I'll have a little bit more of what I want to see from us on Thursday in the Detroit preview game. But again, yeah, I would definitely look to attack them early on offense, and defensively, I'm looking to stop the run.
Yeah, my early observation is simple. Fix the shit, man. Fix that goddamn offensive line. Whatever the hell is going on, I need you to fix it. I'm a little nervous. Now, I do give credit to the Jacksonville Jaguars on a serious note. Like, that defensive front, very impressive. Them boys was getting off the ball. That Olafumu Fatukasi dude, a dog. Like, that man is a dog in the run game. And I really liked what I saw. He gave Schweitzer hell, and I think he was the one who injured Schweitzer. Like, he was the one who contributed to him turning or pulling his hamstring or something like that. But altogether, that defensive line from Jacksonville was pretty good. But I just need to see from a cohesive standpoint and understanding some things, like from a run game standpoint, if they can get on the same page. The zone blocking, like, it worked on occasion, and they blocked up some plays well, but from a consistency standpoint, I think that there's some ways in which they need to improve, and they need to kind of get on that this week. But ultimately, that's my initial thoughts, because if you can get this offensive line together from a pass protection, okay, I think that they were, I would give them like an above average type of synopsis. I think that they were above average. They kept Carson Wentz relatively clean. Excuse me, he did take some hits, but ultimately, I mean, that's part of the game. You obviously want to come 100% clean, but above average, that's cool. But run game, I think they were struggling. They were struggling more times than not, in my opinion. But ultimately, my point, I need to see this offensive line get some cohesion and kind of work on some things as soon as possible to get this thing back on track. Those are my early observations. I have a ton more in which I think that they can probably be more successful from a perimeter standpoint, and maybe pray to God that they work defensively, because I like I said before the Jacksonville game, I don't think they're gonna really stop many people. But if they can get opportunities to get off the field, get off the fucking field. So we'll cross that bridge when it gets there. But we'll kind of figure out if Jacksonville, or excuse me, if Washington actually has a shot against the Detroit Lions defensively. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Last things, what are your thoughts on Jags versus Colts? I think the Jaguars have it. Oh, never mind on that question. Good test coming out the gate. That is a fact. Eric Darden. Derek, I appreciate you checking in, and welcome to the show. Eric, appreciate you checking in as well. All right, fellas, and to your point, Jags Colts. I don't really know. I wouldn't be surprised if Jaguars win it. Jags versus Colts. Week 1 is always tricky, and that's what makes week 2 so scary. And even from a gambling point, Dre knows this, because week 1 is such a head fake, bruh.
Hey, we can't hear nothing you said.
Mike gone.
Nah, you going in and out.
Okay, how about this?
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Oh, bet. All right, cool. So let me go ahead and close out then, for this might start acting funky. ladies and gentlemen, that's it for us. The fellas will be back Thursday. We got a Detroit preview. We got a guy coming in from Detroit, giving us a preview on his side too as well, letting us know what's going on with the Detroit Lions. I'll be back tomorrow morning for the Trapper Dive morning show, Washington Commanders morning show. We're doing a live film session. We'll talk a little bit about the good and bad from the Jacksonville game, and then move forward to Detroit officially after that. So, fellas, will be back Thursday. Appreciate everybody who tapped in. Appreciate all the new people
Mual
that tapped
over
in.
there sound like Terminator.
Thankfully, it's the end of the show.